Okay, so I have a can of Sloan chalk paint in the color Graphite. I used this like 15 years ago to paint a hutch, and I wanted to use it to paint several pieces of furniture, and I also want to use it to dye and stencil on some fabrics. But today we're going to start with furniture painting. And she now has a black, I think it's called a thin neon black. But the graphite black is more like a graphite from a pencil. It's a soft black, which I kind of like that too. And I'm going to start with these two farmhouse pieces here that I've painted in white. And I made these out of pallet wood. And this is like a pie safe and just a little farmhouse cabinet with the silverware. I'm doing some revamping to look primitive. All right, I didn't shake it or anything. I'm just going to stir it with this paint stir stick. And I ordered this one on Amazon. And this seller's name is Not Too Shabby, I think. If you go on Amazon, you can get the chalk paint now, which is really nice. There's a lot of different sellers selling it. So you can see the paint has a clear on top that it really needs to be mixed in. So I'm going to mix that up. Can you see? And this, as I said, I made out of pallet wood. And I can't remember what white paint I used, but I used also some salvage other pieces of wood, and it has red under it. I think even some turquoise on some of them. And it also has a clear coat or several clear coats of a polyurethane on it. But I am not doing anything. I'm not sanding it. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just going to go right over it, and then I'll distress a little bit and put some wax on it. I feel like I'm going to use the larger brush to start out with. So let's go. I'm so excited and a little nervous because it's been a while since I've painted something like this. So here we go. And I think I'm probably going to do 2 coats. It's only been about 2 minutes, and I think it's already almost fully dry. Probably because it's like 110 degrees in here. And I'm going to put a little drop cloth under this one. I probably should have just put it across the whole table. But anyways, I have stuff in this cabinet. It's heavy. And also, I'm not really concerned if I get paint on other things. It's not like a real big deal for me. So I was thinking about doing like a foam roller brush on these. I just want to slightly cover up and make them the wire. This is like a hardware cloth I used on the front of this, in front of the burlap. And I had painted it before I put the burlap on there. And the burlap is a coffee sack, so I don't want to cover that up. I think just a little dry brushing on it's good. I want it to look aged and rustic anyway. So if a little paint darkens up the burlap, I kind of like it. I feel like it is maybe a little, but it could just be like trick of the eye from the white. I don't want a lot of paint on this, just very lightly dry brushing it. No, the thing about it too is you don't even have to use sandpaper when you're using a wet cloth. You can do this technique that rubs back the paint when you wet it, but sandpaper can make quick work of it too. Now you're always supposed to do clear wax first, then the dark wax. And you don't need a ton of it. It does spread out on the surface good. I like to get it on the brush and kind of spread it and then go back and buff it in. And you can really see, let me get closer here. Okay, so you can see it almost looks almost white when you first put it on. It's clear, but you really buff it in. It's not hard to wax. You just put enough to cover, and you can tell here, okay, I can see where the paint is showing through, so you need to buff it in more. And I like to just spin my brush to buff it in. If you're doing a really large piece of furniture, it can be tiring, or several pieces. Like I've done kitchen cabinets and large table sets and things like that. But small pieces of furniture or just one piece at a time, it's really not a big deal. The top has a really nice sheen to it. And the front, you can see it's still very matte. Well, they're both matte. That's the thing about wax, is it has a sort of a matte finish, and it just, you can see here more where it really richens and deepens the color. And we're still just doing clear wax. And the reason why you want to go in with clear is because if you just go straight in with a brown wax, it can muddy it up a lot. And this gives you control over. I don't care. I dip my brush right in there, and I just got it a little bit dirty on the wax. But since I'm not really painting anything white, I'm not really concerned about that. Probably I say that about everything. No big deal. But if you wanted to, you could put your wax in a separate container or on a plate or something. The color starts to darken when you add wax, and I really like that. That's something that's just, I don't know, I could say phenomenal about the paint. Seriously, the best paint ever. You're not going to find anything like that. And it has a really wide range of application. Like I said, you can dye fabric with it, stencil on fabric, things like that. Because I'm going to use the same brush for the dark wax to add a little bit, but I don't want to dip it in the brown wax and then put that brush in this clear wax. So I'm going to do the same thing, both pieces. Clear wax first. And I want you to see how much you can see how much it just deepens and richens the color. I think that's why when I used this graphite color years ago, I thought it looked more black, and today I'm like, what? It feels a little bit more gray. She has a wide range of even gray colors because they have different pigment undertones. Some are cool and some are warm, I'm pretty sure. And they complement with other colors in her paint line. But like I said, she has created a paint line where you can mix all the colors. She even has like mixing mats. And she doesn't I'm assuming the black paint is the only one, but she doesn't use black pigments in her paints, which other paints apparently all have that in there, I think. She said something like that is why you can blend them effortlessly. And many of the colors are truly like antique and vintage colors. No, it's something different about all of that. Even on the wire, I feel like it rigened the color really nicely. The wax also, it has a curing time. I can't remember what it is. It could be like fully cured in 3 days or 2 weeks or something like that. But it's dry in like an hour to touch and like let it sit overnight. And then I feel like it's usable. And then you can see the dark wax, how dark it is. And a lot of times I'll put it in the lid. It's really hot in here, so mine's actually kind of like separating a little bit. Plus it's old. Trying to see a good spot here. There, I'll just go right there. I'm gonna go right all over the whole piece. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but it's not usually that runny or anything. That just has to do with the heat. So you can apply it and you can wipe back some like that. And that was a clean cloth, so I did wipe back quite a bit. I don't know if you can see on camera there. Maybe on the front. Let's do this side. And you don't need to use the brown wax. You can just do clear wax. Like I said, you don't have to distress or anything if that's not the look you're into. But I think I hear a kitten at the door. Okay. Can you see the difference? Yes. There's a bit of a close-up. And we're just going to put a little bit on this one. Or a lot of it. You can see how it went from the darker gray look to more of a black with the waxes. Perfect, and I feel like it's very prim, and I like the way it turned out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.